I'm going to turn it over to Tony. Tony, thank you for joining. How are you feeling first, Tony? All good?
I'm doing much better. Doing much better. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. So Tony had the stomach bug for a little while. And I'm like, oh man, like, and I saw the post on Facebook and I'm like, I hope you feel better because it's just.
I'm hanging. I actually had a doctor's appointment today and things are looking good. So
awesome. So I'm going to do an intro. Tony's been, I've watched Tony speak for, oh my God, so many years. I feel old, by the way, as I'm making those intros because I'm like other people that I've known for so long, but you've been at the marketing game for at least 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can hear his voice now, but absolutely an incredible speaker, amazing insights, clientele, Fortune 500 companies. I think that's a good chunk of the clients, but also SMBs, kind of the small, medium.
Mm-hmm. I spent the early part of my career in the enterprise, and now it's more SMBs.
So. SMBs. But I've seen, here's what's incredible, because you would have mentioned this, because I have seen on Facebook some of your clients mentioning the work that you guys do and the incredible results that you guys have delivered for them. Now, you know that you've done really well. When your clients on their own, they're like, hey, you've doubled our business. Thank you. And I'm like, okay, that just speaks volumes, because we can say how good we are, but it's absolutely amazing when you hear it from somebody whom you're working with.
Absolutely.
And you were involved with Sempo as well.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. So if I recall correctly, and you wouldn't remember this because I was just attending, but I think the first time I saw you speak was at SES. That's long time ago, but of course, kind of regular speaker at PopCon, other conferences. But Tony, so I've asked you to talk because this is the topic that I get asked about from digital agency owners. How do we price the services? What works? What doesn't work? And I actually noticed your comment, and this was a few months ago, about the pricing model that you guys follow. You had commented and you wrote a lengthy post, and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting approach. So why don't I turn it over to you? If I missed anything in the intro, my apologies, but let me turn it over to you.
Sure. I listen to Stefan. I love Stefan. He and I have hung out many times in many cities across the world, and respect him. Our philosophies on pricing, though, are quite a bit different. At the end of the day, what as an SEO really, truly as an SEO, all we sell is time. Now, if you're doing PPC, you're also selling advertising, maybe, but usually that's just a pass through. But at the end of the day, I'm really just selling my time and my employees' time. And whether I couch that as a project or whatever, and Stefan made a good point, when you're pricing whatever model you're using, you have to look at it from a time-based perspective. Because we see it all the time. Somebody does a project and then all of a sudden they've spent 200 hours on this project that they charged $1,500 for. And we can get into all of the reasons for that and what happens. But so about 3 years ago, I made the decision. My background is in public relations. That's where I came from, big PR agencies, and then and also I have relatives that are lawyers, and kind of went more back towards that model, which is essentially we charge on an hourly basis. But the way we couch it, it acts like a retainer in most cases, because we create a minimum number of hours that a client will commit to each month. Now, what happens there is then we go in and plan what's going to happen each month, the month before it happens, as opposed to creating a set of deliverables. I've seen, there's a very popular this SEO blueprint that's going around. A lot of people seem to be using it, I guess, in the agency consulting world. And frankly, I don't like it because of the way that they set up the packages. And it's basically they're creating you get 4 blog posts, 3 pages optimized, et cetera, each month. And I can't do that. When we have done that in the past, by the time 3 months rolls around on that contract, what we're doing looks absolutely nothing like the contract. And then if you ever get into a dispute about what was done, or if it was done, everybody goes back to the contract and immediately highlights, this was never done. Oh, you were supposed to give us 4 blog posts a month. Well, yeah, we were supposed to, but we ended up redesigning half of your site. I mean, it's, kind of a give and take. So we moved to completely hours now, and there are so many benefits to doing it this way. And there are some detractions, but huge benefits as far as managing your agency. If you want to understand staffing and you want to understand when you need to hire, when you need to let people go, etc., there is nothing better than charging by the hour, because I literally have a capacity sheet that Elmer, who's my VP of operations, he and I run, Elmer Booten, he and I, Elmer. So he and I look at this every week and we go through it and we look, okay, here's where the assignments are. Here's how many hours every single person has. Okay, wait a minute, we're going to end up being, over capacity this week. Well, somebody's going to have to work some extra hours. We talk about that, or, we try not to, but it also allows me to create work-life balance for my employees. I can tell if anybody's, overworking, and then also, if we're over servicing a client or if we're not getting things done. And so it's worked really well for me. I'm not saying it's for everybody. And I do understand that we might be leaving some money on the table from a project standpoint. If I'm able to sell, an SEO project for $50,000 or $30,000 a month or whatever, which I don't have anybody that big right now, but $30,000 a month, and the client just says, oh, we just want it to be a deliverables based, or you guys do what you want to do. That's great. But those clients are pretty few and far between. Never had a client that, and even our model, to be honest, sometimes gets stuck in procurement because I don't set deliverables. Now I'll give, a million things we might do, but I'm not going to go in, and I can't plan because our jobs, we react to Google.
Yeah.
By definition, we cannot be proactive in a lot of the things that we do. So we're reacting. So if you're being reactive, then at the end of the day, you may end up where you've got a client where you have to overservice just because of something that Google did. Mm-hmm. And we also have to protect ourselves against that. So we do protect ourselves against overservicing. Now, I'm not opposed to it. If there's a crisis, we'll go in and overservice a client any day of the week. And if I have capacity, I just gave a client a bunch of extra hours next month because he had come in with a new project, and it was a deal where we had in the past messed up something. So it's kind of a make good, I give him a few free hours there. And so we're, and he's happy, we're happy because we have the capacity. But at the end of the day, it's definitely easier to manage staffing. It's easy, and we don't end up with the clients that are upset because we underservice them, which does happen. If a client's, if you work in an agency, that a lot of times the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and you get those clients that are quiet, but they still, deserve to be served. And that way I can tell, oh, we've got to get those hours in. And we go over it, and I'll tell you one of the reasons. I know you say, we had some people talking about how great the work was, but what I look at is, are they sticking around? And I don't do long-term contracts. That's one of the things that I do is I allow a client, I ask for 3-month commitment. I ask for 3 months because honestly, if you're not going to give me 3 months, might as well take that money and go to Vegas because we're going to get more out of it, right? So I ask for 3-month commitment. After that, they can cancel with 30 days notice at any time. Yeah. And with the clients that we started the year with last year, we have a 99.2% retention rate. Nice. So we had a banner year as far as clients just sticking around, keeping with us, believing in what we're doing, et cetera. And, I know that it works because I don't have any clients that ever question the work that we're doing, because we've got our reporting set up in a way that it works with this hourly reporting, and they can see exactly what's going on. It's very transparent to the client. They're comfortable. Most of them are comfortable with it, and we don't have an issue. So, awesome. Sorry, I talked a long time.
No. I love it. I love it. So you're doing, because we've actually switched to hourly, but for a completely different reason. I never tracked the hours. We just sold retainer, and we'll do whatever work. And then I think actually after reading your comment, I'm like, I need to understand how many hours we're doing. which is sort of funny after running an agency for so many years.
It's funny that the little things that we do that we should be doing years ago.
Yeah, and then I track the hours, and I'm like, oh, we're switching to hourly, which is sort of interesting because what we do, like like the team, and this has also helped kind of like kind of going back to what I was talking with Stefan about, kind of selecting the right clients. Our team is trained; they don't know how to do small projects. I mean, we come in, we do just a ton of hours, so it's easy for us to do 100 and 150 hours a month. Now, if you're selling a project like at $5,000 and you're doing 10 hours, you're doing well, correct? Because that's $500, $500 an hour. You've done 150 hours. I was like, really? That's what we're doing? Okay, this is embarrassing. It's probably not worth actually having an agency at that rate. So we had to switch. I'm like, okay, we need to switch to an hourly model, and that seems to have worked for us, better. Are you reporting to clients the hours regularly?
The clients can ask for the hours upon request. Strategically, I don't provide them unless they ask. Okay. Just because that's asking for issues. Okay. But when they ask, and I do have some clients that want them every month. I have a CFO of one of our clients where we have to send him the hours with the invoice. But most of the clients never ask for them. And one of the things, with that 150 hours, we definitely can keep that type of thing from happening. But I see a lot of agencies doing that, and we used to do it. And then we'd have one client that was getting, 150 hours, and then another client that wasn't complaining that was getting, half of what they needed. And and if you're not tracking that kind of stuff, it's easy to, because also over servicing is a problem in and of itself. Because I can tell you, if you over service a client, most likely you're going to end up getting fired when you try to pull back.
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
All of a sudden they're not getting everything that they were getting, and they don't necessarily care. They just know they were paying you and they're getting a lot more. Now they're not getting anything.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, we've been fired more for free things that we've given clients. A client like, I need this, so we just go ahead and fix it. And it's 20 hours, just fix it and get it done. And then, when you fix that, you didn't do it right, or you didn't, or you didn't get it done quick enough, or what, and they fire you. I've actually found that it's better sometimes to just come in and say, okay, you want it? It's 20 hours. This is how much it's going to cost. And we've even gone to really, every single thing, even web design is really, it's an estimate, and we still bill it like a project, but it is totally internally tracked by hours, and we make sure that hey, why did that website take 100 hours? Was it an issue, or and I'm not going to get on to my people for over servicing. What I'm trying to do is trying to help them become more efficient. It's never, and I tell my guys this, tracking hours is not about getting in trouble or making sure that you're doing your job. It is about tracking our efficiency and making sure that we are providing you as an employee with the tools that you need to get things done, and the knowledge. Because if something's taking too long, it's usually a case of either lack of training, not knowing what they're doing, or we don't have the right tool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it goes back to kind of positioning that with the client correctly. Let me tell you one of the challenges that we run into, where we know that we're not going to deliver value for the client unless we've spent, let's say, 200 hours on the project. That's when the client starts seeing, and that could be over like a month, 2 months, 3 months. It might be in the messaging. So that's the challenge, where we come in and the first month we'll do those 200 hours. The client doesn't know, but oh, great. They're happy, versus telling them from the get-go, we're doing 50 hours and you're probably not going to see any value until 4 months into it. How do you handle messaging around that?
Well, I tell the client we're frequently going to over service in the first month. Now, I don't know what you're charging, and as far as that 100 hours goes, but for me, I would be looking at that. Okay, if we're going to do that 100 hours in a month, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, and then but I may split it up if it's a cash flow issue, or and I've done this in the past where there's just significant issues. For instance, somebody comes in with a website that just is under penalty or huge, and a lot of work needs to be done really quickly. I'll spread out their payments.
Yeah.
And let them pay over, but we'll go ahead and do the work. I've done that before, but if they want to pay for 100 hours, they can pay for 100 hours. I can staff it, and that's the other thing. Also, staffing. Sometimes you get that giant new project in, and you've got to staff it pretty quickly. Can you do it, and do you even know how much you need, type of thing? And that's what I've always resisted the startup fee. Even though I think we may end up doing it. I'm never going to say we won't. I've always resisted because, frankly, at the end of the day, I'm the one that sells all this stuff, and that a startup fee is a real quick way to lose a sale. Yeah. And so that's a little bit selfish on my part, but also I think that it does set that precedent for, okay, are we going to overservice the account? But we're talking about doing it on especially on our paid search, just because the startups starting to get a little bit
there's lots of research that goes into it.
Yeah, lots of research, and then it seems like we're building more and more custom landing pages, et cetera. So it's like we're starting to think about a startup fee for that, even though on PPC, that was actually where I first started doing hourly, was on paid. Okay. And that was because anybody that does percentage, I think that that's fine if you can get it, but frankly, at the end of the day, for me doing percentage, sometimes we get paid less for doing the right thing. If we're optimizing and I'm able to reduce their budget and increase their leads, then I've just cut my fee by doing the right thing for the client. And so I don't like to do that.
I like that. Have you done, and let's kind of finish with that, have you done performance-based projects?
We have one client that is performance-based. And it's an option. It's definitely an option. And as Stefan said, I like it when we can get it, but I won't do performance-based until I've worked with someone for 6 months. As Stefan alluded to earlier with his blue light special, as we shall call it, for his department store, which shall remain unnamed.
Unnamed.
When you're doing performance-based, you're dependent a lot of time. There's so many things that you're dependent on. I mean, I had a client recently asked for performance-based. I said no. And why? Because his tracking, but his sales tracking, I don't trust completely. Okay. I think there's some issues, and also he's one that doesn't always do everything that we suggest. And to me, you can't do that, and be performance based. So we have one client, and he's been a client for 5 years. And it's truly based on traffic. And because he knows how many leads he can get from, I mean, his bill seems to go up to me every month because it's all based on traffic, and we're increasing the traffic every month. So, but I'd love to get more like that. But frankly, I won't do it unless nobody will do a traffic based one. I've found they all want leads or sales, and I'm fine with that as long as we have the ability to do everything. If I don't have the ability to manipulate, then I'm not going to go for it.
I like that. Sort of interesting, because on the CRO space, I can tell you 9 out of 10 companies we talk to, they want to do performance space, and I don't do that.
Everybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I were a company, I get it because it's supposedly a guarantee, but at the end of the day, you're going to pay more for performance based. You're going
definitely. I was mentioning. Exactly. I was mentioning the story with Stefan, that company, because they could have paid I forgot at that point in time, it was early on, $7,000-8,000 a month. And instead the bill was going to be about $35,000. That's the reason, let's redo the test. Let's redo this. And no matter what he tried, I'm like, you do everything and I'll just sit and watch. And at the end, it was the same calculation with his guys. And then I'm like, you know what? He switches to philosophical statistics. I'm like, oh, you became a PhD in statistics now. No, I will walk away. It's fine. It's painful, but it's fine. And now I have a good story to mention 12 years later. So,
Definitely.
so
Yeah, and I think that it's a hard decision for an agency owner to decide to move to this type of pricing, because you feel like you're giving up on money, or you're giving it. And I will tell you, from my perspective, it's made my life a lot easier. It's made my team's life a lot easier. And I frankly feel like it's made our clients' life a lot easier, because they're not coming to me every month saying, what did you do? Even if we give them here's what we did every month and you agreed to it, if it's not working, it's hard to pivot.
Yeah.
And you need to pivot. And I mean, I can't say it enough. We are a reactive discipline. I mean, it's hard to be proactive in SEO beyond just fixing technical errors and stuff like that. And that even still is somewhat reactive. But half the time I can't figure out exactly what to do until I see a month or two of how Google is implementing the changes that we made. And then we know, okay, and then I know, okay, I need links, I need more content around specific topics, I need, et cetera, to understand what I need. And hours and hours of work just to do that. So I would never do that in a proposal, pull that out and show it, but because I'm not going to spend 30 hours on a proposal without somebody paying me to do it.
Yeah, no, I like that. How about getting links? If somebody says, hey, I would like links, that I wouldn't call that reactive. And I'm not an SEO, by the way, so I'm like, whatever I say might be just a little dumb. So, would you consider getting links, like if somebody hires you, or is that not? No, most of the work is more on page.
No. It's I actually think one of the things that differentiates us as an agency is our link building capabilities, and it's because we treat link building like a media relations campaign. So it's very much like public relations. It's we're building lists and then approaching people, and then also working to create linkable content that we can promote then to the proper people. But we treat it like we would if we were trying to get a story in the Wall Street Journal, and I'll tell you, our link building, we're never going to get you 1,000 links a month unless we just get real lucky. You're lucky to get 2 or 3, but those 2 or 3 are going to be high quality. And I can promise you those 2 or 3 are worth 1,000 Joe Schmo's blog, and as an SEO knows. But how do we build that? It takes time and building of relationships, and identifying who the right people in the space, who the influencers are, where can we get the links, et cetera. A lot of research, and then there's research and then outreach, and it takes time. And so people come to me and say, how much should I spend on SEO? I'm like, well, how much do you have? Or let's take a look at what makes sense from how you sell, because frankly, I can spend as much time as you can ever think. I don't care who you are, because I can always build links, always. So it comes down to, a lot of times, what is your, people are like, how much cost? I'm like, well, how many hours do you want? Or, do you have a budget? And if they don't, I'll come in, with my best guesstimate, with, putting some hours on top for link building and planning it out, what we're thinking. But at the end of the day, one month we may spend all of our hours doing link building, and then the next month we may have a bunch of technical stuff that needs to get done. So, it changes.